So today I'm going to show you how to set up your sketchbook for your warm-ups. You're going to need a pencil. You probably will want to have your packet of warm-ups, and you need your sketchbook. We're going to first divide this in half. We're going to be putting warm-up 1 here, warm-up 2 here, and I'm going to focus down now on the first one, and we're going to be drawing a basic cylinder. I want you to follow the steps and draw with me. First, you're going to start with 2 dots. They should be on a horizontal line. You're going to create an ellipse. The ellipse is a curved shape. It's like an oval, and this is an oval here. It does not meet at a point, but we want to run it through both of those. And we want to make sure that we have the same distance above this line as below. So what we don't want to do is we don't want to end up with something that looks like this. We don't want to end up with something that we have our dots here that is like flat across the top and then big on the bottom, or reversed where it's like big on the top and then flat across the bottom. So it should be evenly above and below, and it may take several tries and erasing until you get that. Then we're going to do true vertical. So when I'm doing true vertical, I'm trying to let my eye capture like an edge here or an edge here, so my lines can be as vertical as possible. And then I'm going to use whatever curve this is, and I'm going to make the same curve at the bottom. If you draw a straight line across the bottom, so let's say here's our ellipse. If I would pull here, and instead of curving it, I go straight, I have lost the illusion of 3 dimensions. I've flattened out my object. Now I just have a 2-dimensional object. So I want to make sure when I do the bottom line, this is not what I want to do. I want to make sure that it is curved like this. Now, if this was see-through, I would be able to see the entire ellipse that's on the bottom, and it would try to mimic the top ellipse as close as possible. And the only reason I'm going to put that on there right now, and I'm going to get rid of it eventually, is I need to put a ground line on here. So when I put my ground line to give it a surface, I need to make sure that this line is above, so I skip over my object because it's going to be a solid. It needs to be above this. If the ground line would sit here, down at the bottom, then my object, this whole part of it, could tip off the back. Like if this was the, a table, that would tip off the back. So anytime that I'm doing a ground line, I need to make sure it's above where that bottom of that object would be. So we've now created an illusion of 3 dimensions on a flat surface. We have height, width, and depth as it goes back into space. This is furthest away, this is closest. So now I'm going to add details. So in warm-up land, the first points would be for drawing the structure correctly. The second set of points is for drawing the details. So when I'm doing the details, I'm going to add, and let me show you what the details are in here. I'm going to add some of these details. I'm going to add some different ones as well. I'm not going to do this. I am going to do this. And you can actually change in this last step the details if you like. If they start them here, you've got to do what they're showing you because there's a reason they're showing you. But you can modify them into something else as long as you have approximately the same amount of details. So I'm going to do a cake, and I'm going to put some candles on it. And I'm going to, instead of doing the guy coming out of it, I'm going to actually put my name on here, and I'm going to give this some guidelines, and I'm doing these curved guidelines because anything on this surface has to curve and wrap around. So I'm going to put my last name, which is Posey, and I'm going to follow the letters are going to be true vertical like this, so they're going to stand up. And when I get to my letter E, I'm going to do a curve here and a curve here to make it look like it's rounding with the cake, and this would actually be curved too. I'll put my last one there. So now I have made it look like my name wraps around the cake, and it has kept the illusion of roundness. Okay? Now, for the second warm-up, we're going to be drawing a cube. For the cube, we are going to put 2 dots. They will be spaced out. They should be straight across from each other. The second set of dots is, and I always put a line here, I'm going to the middle, I'm going to go slightly above, slightly below, and then I'm going to connect. So I'm connecting here, I'm going to connect here, and then I'm going to connect back and back. Okay, then I'm going to do true vertical, true vertical, true vertical, and whatever this angle is here, I'm going to drag it down and put it down here. That'll make sure it looks like it's going back in space. Here, I'm going to take this angle and put this here. And so now we have a cube where the corner is at the front. It has width, it has depth, and it has height. So when I put my ground line on it, if I was going to have the bottom, and this was a glass cube and I could see through it, that's where the back would be. So I'm going to make sure my ground line is above where that is. That anchors it now. And I'm going to get rid of the inside shapes in this. And it's showing us in this step a shape that sits here. We're going to need to do that because it's not in that very last box. And the point they're making here is, if you're putting something on the surface of this cube, you want to make sure that you follow this angle is the same angle back, and this is the same angle back. What we don't want to do is this. We don't want to end up with something that looks dimensional as far as the cube goes. So I'm going to just quickly draw a cube here. Now, if we would not follow this angle, and we would say put our TV screen on and we go straight across, this does not go back with the cube itself. So we've wrecked our dimensionality of it following it back in space. So this angle is the same as this, it's the same as this, it's really the same as this. Okay, so these should all essentially be on that same angle. And here's our buttons. Sorry about the dogs. Here's going to be our antenna. And then our cord would be here. Now, they have an arm reaching out of this TV. I'm not going to do that, but I am going to make this into sort of like a robot face. And that's going to be my extra. Okay, so what we have done with both of these drawings is called foreshortening. Foreshortening is when we are distorting a shape in order to make it look three-dimensional. We know that the top of a cylinder is really a circle. As we draw it going back in space, it turns into that ellipse. The same thing is true with the cube. So when we would look down on a cube, we'd know if we were flying over it from a bird's eye view, it would be a square, and it has turned into this diamond shape. And that is how you set up your first warm-up. So each page of your sketchbook in the front of it is going to be warm-ups, and we will do 2 per page. And we're going to do 2 per day each time we meet.